trying to show y'all all these people outside.
Just before midnight, the booming sound of fireworks was muted by fire.
What y'all doing, basically?
A Fort Worth makeup artist was among the victims killed in 2 separate in the city on the 4th of July, the woman's fiancé said in an interview with the Star-Telegram on Friday.
But the sounds of joy and laughter were quickly silenced by and chaos when violence erupted at a block party on Castleman Street.
When a beautiful 39-year-old entrepreneur was dead during her 4th of July holiday celebrations, the community was shocked. But who did it? And why did they pull that trigger? Well, those were the big questions that everyone wanted answering. Tasha Hyman was an amazing 39-year-old woman, known for her impeccable attention to detail and precision when it came to her craft. She had a natural talent for enhancing people's features and bringing out their inner glow. Her salon, By Shay, quickly became the go-to spot for anyone looking for a transformation or just a confidence boost. Tasha's warm and welcoming personality made her clients feel like they were catching up with an old friend every time they sat in her chair. That's exactly why she had amassed over 1,000 clients that regularly came to her. She took the time to listen to their concerns and preferences, ensuring that each client left feeling satisfied and beautiful. Her dedication to her work was evident in the long hours she put in at the salon, always striving to deliver top-notch results. Tasha's passion for her work and her genuine care for her clients set her apart in the industry, and her legacy as a talented and beloved makeup artist will live on in the hearts of those she touched. It was these qualities, as well as her get-up-and-go attitude and entrepreneurship tendencies, that made her one of the most loved members of the community.
I'm happy to see another day. 39 trips around the moon. I'm blessed. I got a house. I got a car. My bills are paid. I'm financially stable. I can do what I want to do. I got food on the refrigerator. I have my health and strength. And that's all I can be grateful for God giving me. That's my birthday gift. That's all I want.
Most importantly, Tasha was a devoted mother to her only child, her son. Tasha often shared photos and heartfelt captions about the special bond she shared with her son, showcasing their fun adventures, inside jokes, and shared interests. From attending his soccer games and school events to cooking together in the kitchen, their relationship was built on love, trust, and understanding. Tasha made sure to prioritize quality time with her son, creating lasting memories that they both cherished. Their close relationship was a source of strength and joy for both of them, and Tasha took great pride in being a supportive and loving mother.
What are you doing? Okay, come on.
Tasha's had an amazing and supportive bunch of people around her. Her fiancé, Tommy Howard, was not only her partner in life, but also her biggest supporter in her business ventures. Her friends and family were always there for her, cheering her on through every high and low. With their unwavering love and support, she felt like she could conquer the world. The thought of marrying Tommy filled her heart with joy and anticipation, knowing that their future together was bright and full of endless possibilities. Tasha truly felt like she was living her best life and was grateful for every moment of happiness that came her way. Howard described Hyman as the sweetest person on this earth and one of the best makeup artists in the city, saying she was loved by her over 1,000 clients throughout Fort Worth. Life was not always easy for Tasha, though. There were many people who were jealous of her looks and her success and would often try to pull her down. They would make rude, insulting, and hurtful comments on her social media posts and do their best to try to upset her and make her feel not worthy. And while Tasha was sometimes pushed to respond, she worked on herself and did manage to get that under control, reframing the hurtful comments as other people being envious of her and her success. She turned her life around and continued to develop and grow, going from strength to strength. One 4th of July evening, Tasha and Tommy headed outside to watch the firework display and spend time with their family and friends. The atmosphere was electric, with families laughing and children playing, all enveloped in a sense of patriotic fervor. Little did Tasha and Tommy know that a senseless and deadly act of violence would shatter the peace and joy of the evening. The 4th of July, a day meant for celebration and unity, would turn into a night of sorrow and tragedy. On the evening of July 4th, as the skies lit up with fireworks to celebrate Independence Day, chaos erupted on the block of Castleman Street in Fort Worth. The Fort Worth Police Department received multiple frantic calls reporting a shooting and a large, unruly crowd. Officers rushed to the scene and were met with a scene of pandemonium, bodies lying on the ground, screams filling the air, and a sense of fear and confusion hanging thick in the night air. The police quickly sprang into action, attempting to disperse the crowd and provide aid to the wounded. It was a night that would forever be remembered in the neighborhood for the tragedy that had unfolded. It was fun. It started off great. Everybody was coming out, cooking out in their front yard, said Lisbeth, a neighbor. They started shooting, and everything just went downhill from there. The night started off like any other celebratory night. She went live on social media to document the growing number of attendees, as the small gathering quickly escalated into a crowd of 200 to 300 people spanning multiple blocks. Fort Worth police were already on the scene, keeping an eye on the celebrations and making sure that things didn't turn nasty. Her live video was viewed by a lot of people, all of whom liked it and left comments in awe at how busy it was on the usually quiet neighborhood street. Still, it wasn't enough to damp Tasha's spirits, and as she grabbed herself and Tommy some more drinks, she vowed to just carry on partying with her family and mind her own business.
Fort Worth police was already monitoring the area. They say 200 to 300 people took over the block.
However, the situation took a turn for the worse when individuals began firing fireworks at nearby homes and drivers started performing dangerous stunts in the intersection. The fun night was dangerously close to getting out of hand. Tasha tried to stay away from all of the crowds, though, and just enjoyed her evening with her family and friends. Several times over the course of the night, she posted live videos on Facebook of her enjoying the party and hanging out with family and friends. Despite the potential for things to go wrong, Tasha, Tommy, and her family were still having a great evening, but it wasn't going to stay that way. The night started to grow later and later, and this is when tragedy struck. According to Howard, it appeared that nearby residents got tired of the noise from the cars, and someone started Everybody outside began running and ducking, he said. Hyman had gone into his mother's house to use the bathroom and had just come outside when the gunfire began, and she was shocked, Howard said. One of the neighbors had been increasingly frustrated by the continuous loud noise coming from the rowdy party outside. Their patience wore thin as the music boomed into the late hours of the night and the fireworks were flashing and crashing into the houses, drowning out the usual peaceful serenity of the neighborhood. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, they had stormed out of their home, wielding a gun, and started firing into the crowded street full of people. The attacker was wildly firing haphazardly into the panicked crowd of partygoers. The sound of screams and cries filled the air as people scattered in fear, trying to seek cover from the terrifying commotion.
I'm trying to show y'all all these people outside.
Just before midnight, the booming sound of fireworks was muted by fire.
What y'all doing?
But the sounds of joy and laughter were quickly silenced by and chaos when violence erupted at a block party on Castleman Street.
Everyone ducked for cover or ran to safety. Everyone except Tasha, who was inside the house in the bathroom. She had not heard the commotion outside, and she was unaware of the danger that people were in. She finished in the bathroom, fixed her makeup, and then headed back towards the door, but when she came out and went back outside, she left herself wide open to what was about to happen to her.
They originally got the call about the shooting at about 11:30 last night for a southeast Fort Worth neighborhood. Now, when officers arrived to Castleman Street, which is near Highway 287, they found multiple victims shot. EMS ended up taking them to the hospital, where at least one died.
As Tasha and Tommy were partying with everyone else in the neighborhood, There was the sound of People were slow to react, though, thinking that the banging noise was part of the fireworks display. They could never in a million years have imagined that they were under attack by someone with a gun. The screams were deafening, and people ran around in panic, not sure where to go or where the were coming from. It was like a living nightmare.
A resident in the area says a block party was happening there when the gun erupted. Some thought it was just fireworks until they saw those who were shot.
Injured, like right there in the yard, like just like this, right here in the street. Injured, not moving. One of them barely moving. We were just trying to enjoy the Fourth. You know, it's supposed to be a good.
Who was the victim of the tragic though? Well, it turned out to be none other than Tasha. She had been minding her own business, having a good time, when she was struck by not one, but multiple bullets. Having just come out of the house, she was still unsure what all the panic was for. She kept level-headed and tried to ask people why they were running, but it was too late. It hit her and she fell to the ground. She was killed instantly, and there was nothing that the emergency services could do to bring her back. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Sadly, she was not the only victim of the evening, with one other person being killed and 2 injured, though they were expected to live to tell the tale. According to the Tarrant County Medical Examiner's Office, a man who was taken to a hospital from the Castleman Street scene also died of a wound. Marcus Martin Jr. of San Diego, California, was pronounced dead early Friday at Texas Health Harris Methodist from a wound to the back. The medical examiner's website was recently updated to give Martin's age as 19. His death was ruled a homicide. At least 2 additional victims from the East Fort Worth neighborhood were taken to hospitals and were expected to survive, according to police. The neighborhood had held 4th of July parties for years. It was a local tradition, and usually it was a night of good fun and good humor, and there were never any problems. So what was it about that night that was different? Why had so many people turned up to the party, and what had really driven the mysterious neighbor to start shooting at the unsuspecting partygoers? Those were questions for another time. Right then, the community had to process what had happened and the devastating effect of Tasha's death. Her fiancé Tommy was particularly broken by what had happened to Tasha. In an interview with the Star-Telegram, he called Tasha his savior, describing her as the sweetest person on this earth and a cheerful and beautiful soul, loved by many. In a heartbreaking revelation, he explained how Tasha had been there for him when his previous wife had passed away from cancer 4 years before. She had offered him support and a shoulder to cry on when he needed it the most. Everybody loved her, he said. She was cheerful. She was just a good spirit. She actually was my savior. The community was equally shocked by Tasha's death. Tributes poured in for one of the biggest and most well-loved characters in the community. It was clear that Tasha's death had left an instant and painful hole. One of the most moving posts was by a representative of By Shay, Tasha's beauty company, who posted, "It is with a heavy heart that we announce the death of our beloved owner Latasha. In light of this profound loss, we will be temporarily closed as we mourn and support our family during this difficult time. We kindly ask that you keep Latasha's family in your prayers." Tasha's cousin, Pastor Felton Jenkins, was particularly hit by what had happened. He was an advocate for gun control in the community, and he often spoke out about the dangers of owning and using firearms. He often fought against gun violence, advocating for peace and love. So when he found out what had happened to Tasha, Felton was heartbroken. Her cousin, Pastor Felton Jenkins, found out in the morning about her death. "She is sweet. She is my angel," said Jenkins. "Every time we see each other, it's a hug, it's a kiss, it's a smile, dance, you name it. We are going to cheer each other up. She was loved by everybody. he spends every day as a community leader fighting against gun violence, but this time he said the pain is personal.
Every time we see each other, it's a hug, it's a kiss, it's a smile, it's a small dance, you name it. We gonna cheer each other up. She was loved by everybody. She was loved by everybody.
But who would do such a thing? Who would start firing their gun into the crowd just because their 4th of July celebrations were too loud? It seemed like a very extreme move to do something like that. Well, police started looking into who might have pulled the trigger, but the truth was that it wasn't going to be an easy task. No one saw anyone with a gun, and no one had any clues that might point police in the right direction.
At this point, there are multiple suspects, but no one is in custody.
Police even canvassed the area, asking for the shooter to give themselves up and come forward to the authorities. They said that they would go easier on them if they admitted to their guilt and handed themselves in. But still, no one came forward to admit it was them who had opened fire. The police chief expressed their frustration at the lack of cooperation from witnesses. The incident had left many shaken and fearful, with some reconsidering their plans for future celebrations in light of the danger that now loomed over them. As days passed without any leads, tensions in the neighborhood grew, with rumors and speculation swirling about who the culprit could be. The police were determined to bring justice and peace back to the community, but with no tangible evidence to work with, the search for the shooter seemed to be at a standstill. The community remained on edge, waiting for answers, and hoping that the perpetrator would eventually be brought to justice.
They are cowards.
Jenkins and several community leaders want those who know something to come forward.
Come on, Fort Worth.
The police had exhausted all leads and avenues of inquiry in their pursuit of the elusive shooter responsible for Tasha's tragic death. Despite their best efforts, the trail had gone cold, and the perpetrator remained at large. This sense of frustration and hopelessness weighed heavily on Tasha's loved ones, who were left with more questions than answers. The uncertainty surrounding her murder only served to deepen their grief and prolong their pain. The community, too, was rocked by the senseless violence that had claimed the life of such a beloved and irreplaceable member. Tasha's absence left a void that could never be filled, leaving those who knew her to grapple with feelings of loss and injustice. As the days turned into weeks, the possibility of finding closure seemed to grow more distant, leaving everyone to wonder if justice would ever be served for Tasha. So now it's over to you. What did you think of this tragic story? Why do you think the neighbors started shooting? And how would you have felt if your 4th of July celebrations suddenly turned to tragedy? As always, we love to hear from you, so be sure to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. Please give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.